I've been using weights and biases for 5 years, so since 2019. I had the pleasure of having Chris Van Pelt on my podcast for my most recent episode. I remember in early 2020, my intern asked me, is weights and biases industry standard? Nothing was industry standard, right, at the time. But weights and biases did the trick. So, hi everyone, I'm Seth Levine. I'm lead machine learning scientist at Loris. Loris is a company, we do conversation analytics and intelligence. We're like a layer on top of all of the conversations between customers and companies. Let's get into it. Today, talk about creating value, my perspective on the state of machine learning, what is Loris, building products, maybe a demo, we'll see how we're doing on time, takeaways, and Q&A. What does it mean to create value? Maybe controversial, maybe not, but when applying machine learning to industry, the biggest mistake you can make is to focus on machine learning problems and not business problems. Why? Machine learning problems are infinite. Business problems are straightforward. There's only two of them. There's only two things that you could do for people: reduce cost or enhance value. That's it. That's the only thing people are willing to pay you for. So your model, your system, your product has to get that one of these two things, or if you're lucky enough, both of these. And you need to know what to focus on. There's nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which not should be done. That should not be done at all. What does that mean? Over-optimizing things. Not necessary. If it's good enough, put it into production. I didn't believe that in 2019. I didn't believe perfect is the enemy of the good. It's true. Get it into production, get feedback. Okay, state of machine learning. Not supposed to be controversial. Don't want to do humans versus machines, just want to talk tasks that humans can do, and there's tasks that machines can do, right? What are humans good at? Humans are good at human connection, talking to people, usually good at problem solving, being creative. Machines don't get tired. Machines can find patterns. Machines can extract information. Machines can find patterns where humans might not find them also. But here, you could think of it like this. Think of it as a subset. There's the tasks that humans can do, and then there's the human tasks that machines can do. That's automation. That's what we're so scared of. That's what people are worried about, that all of our jobs are going to be taken. There's something much, 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 much greater. It's the new tasks that humans can do with the help of machines. This is augmentation, right? There's automation, there's chatbots. Listen, chatbots can solve a lot of problems, LLMs can solve a lot of problems. They cannot solve all your problems. I've been analyzing customer service conversations for 5 years now. They cannot. Businesses are complicated. You can't just generate a response. It does not work. Chevy selling cars for $1. New York City government was telling people to break the law. You have to follow, in business, you have to follow certain things. There's compliance. You can't just give LLMs the ability to do anything. So what is Loris? Loris is actually a venomous primate. It's the only venomous primate. Why? Why would you ever name a company Loris? It's because if you don't get your customer service right, it'll slowly poison your brand and kill your company. So what do? You have to start with the problem. Always have to start with the problem. That's why actually even the name of this conference, the Age of Generative AI. Generative AI is a solution. Doesn't matter. You need to figure out what the problem is first. Here's one opportunity that we found. Every company's greatest asset is its most underutilized. The conversations between the customers and the companies. It is a raw, untapped resource. They might pretend like they're getting a voice of the customer. I can tell you they are not. QA, quality assurance, humans reading and filling out checklists doesn't give you a good understanding of how the conversation went. Surveys, the CSAT, putting a thumbs up or thumbs down after the conversation, it's not quite multidimensional enough to understand what's really going on. So what does Loris do? We use AI to transform every customer interaction into an opportunity for insights, optimization, and growth. We use machine learning to make customer service more human, more empathetic, and scalable. And this is our approach. Humans can make machines better, and machines can make humans better. It's an amazing flywheel. It's not human versus machine, it's human times machine. It's the ability to augment the things that humans can do things that humans wasn't possible to do before. This is what our solution looks like. So if you start at 1 on the top right, automated voice of customer service. What does this mean? Extracting sentiment, satisfaction on the message level. Every single message that goes in, we're analyzing, we're figuring out how satisfied that customer is at the time of the conversation. You know what that does? It gives you the ability to see the trajectory of a conversation as it's happening. It's fascinating. It's data that people have not seen before. Intent, figuring out the contact drivers, the reason for submission. You can do so many things if you understand how someone's feeling and what they're talking about. You can start to suggest what they should kind of say also. Other things, summarization, resolution, I'll get into more of it. But being able to do this, being able to extract this information, it gives you the ability to do QA in a new way, quality assurance in a new way, to understand if conversations were good without having a human do a bunch of checkboxes or do spreadsheets or manually read 1%. We're talking about machines going through all of your conversations, making dozens, hundreds sometimes of predictions per conversation. It's a different way of thinking about things. The cost of prediction has gone down so low that you can do it so often. It gives you an enhanced data set to do so much more with. So what does this allow also? Having this, we could do real-time agent assist. That's where we started. We started out with chat, just like a little pop-up on top of the chat, on top of Zendesk, on top of Salesforce. This is how your customer's feeling. We showed you an emoji. You should apologize here. You should validate their feelings there. It was a nice to have at the time. You have to solve real problems. So what does this allow you to do? The machine that doesn't get tired can get all of this information and surface it up and bubble it up. You can aggregate all of this information to actually get real insights. You could see trends. You could see anomalies. You could figure out tons of really interesting information. And what I love is when that information helps the organization outside of just their customer service. So this flywheel continues, and yeah, you can improve customer experience, you can improve operational efficiency, but what's the value of finding out that there's something wrong in your manufacturing line? There's a bug in your engineering, there's a bug in your system, you can tell engineering. So it's the insights that you can find that you can then apply it to your product team. You can tell your product team this, you can tell your engineering team this marketing isn't working, this promotion's not working. You can also do post-conversation QA, and you can improve these workflows. Gives you the ability to do some A/B testing, which is very interesting. So yeah, can improve customer experience, operational efficiency, and insight. I skipped over this part, but when I joined Loris, I was the 5th person. We had just decided to be SaaS. We just decided to be software as a service. We were fighting and dying and doing anything to get that one client, right? It was a great client. We hit everything that we needed to do. Pandemic hit. They didn't continue with us. But now we have dozens of clients. We have 275 million messages analyzed, 15 million customer messages a month being analyzed. It's like data heaven. The amount of investigation that you can do is incredible. And these are the number of messages. So remember, I was talking about the number of predictions that you can make. The amount of information that we're able to extract from these informations is astronomical, and it's incredible some of the things that you can find. So, started in 2019, right? No one was talking about ChatGPT. No one was talking about LLMs. We thought BERT was an LLM. Is it an LLM? I don't know. You could debate that. So how have ChatGPT-like models changed our approach? The most important thing is not to jump to a solution. You have to understand the problem. The human is what brings the domain expertise and the experience. One of the best things I heard recently is you can buy AI, you can't buy domain expertise, right? So you can have a human that understands this, that you can't replace that, you can't just replace that with a machine, understanding intimately what the problems are. I'll tell you this, so we started off with a company and they wanted us to do a historical run. So we figured out, what their contact drivers are. It was like 3 months of messages, close to like 3 million conversations. Just think about it for a second. How could you ever extract this type of information using an LLM? Think about the cost. Think about if one of the classes changed. You're going to get your response in seconds? No. We create models that you can get predictions in 10 milliseconds. That goes to that same thing. Being able to make predictions at that scale changes the way you think about problems. In terms of it being expensive, you'll find that sometimes what you create and what it costs to get that to your end user is more than they're willing to pay for it. So then what do? You have to start with the problems. This is the domain expertise. These are the things you need. There's only 3 questions. I'm simplifying it. How's the customer feeling? Why did the customer contact the company? And how did the conversation go? You answer these 3 questions, you're putting that company in a really good spot. And we have an underlying model underneath that which understands the role every message is playing in a conversation. It's called dialogue act classification. We're doing that on both the customer side and the agent side. So we created a system to answer these questions. This is just a small part of what we're doing. So sentiment model, 5-tier, real time, from very dissatisfied to very satisfied, geared towards customer service. It's nice to get a number, right? You're predicting on a message -2 to +2. You need to figure out what it's directed towards. For this domain, they want to know, is it directed towards the company or is it directed towards the agent? So we did a little research on this and we found out for some companies, it's between 70 to 90%. This negative sentiment is directed towards the company. It's not even directed towards the agent. So what does that mean? Is it the customer service that's bad? Is it the agent that's bad? Or is it your company policies that are bad? But if you don't have this information, you have no way of figuring it out. You're just kind of flying blind. So we have those conversation markers. Those are moments in the conversation that are associated with churn. We call it like regulator threat. I'm going to report you to the BBB. I'm going to call my lawyer. Frustration. Then there's some other models as well. Then there's the conversation level. So we have to understand, now that we see sentiment throughout all these conversations, we can figure out and we can assign a score. Same thing, 1-star to 5-star, to every single conversation. So through QA, they had 1-2%. Through CSAT, maybe 10%. CSAT's just that survey after the conversation. We're giving you close to 100%. Then there's summarization. Great use case for generative. You can use generative models for that. It makes sense. Resolution, understanding was the issue resolved or not. It's amazing. Breaking that down by contact driver, figuring out what segments are getting resolved, what aren't getting resolved, and then also agent actions, which is basically those dialogue acts applied to agent side. It's nice to talk about it on a slide, but let's see. On the right side, there's a conversation between a customer and an agent. You could see that sentiment graph on the left. That was that cool trajectory that I'm talking about. It's interactive, so if you click on a dot, it goes there. You see customer feels misled. That's the conversation marker where it's directed towards. And then there's the gist. It's just what our summarization. You can understand resolution. We assign a status. Was it resolved or not resolved? And we give you a reason for it as well. It's restarting now, but all of the things on the left side are clickable. So if you want to understand a certain intent, you want to see what messages is associated with that, then you can figure out what message it is. So all of those models that I was talking about seem like you could probably apply them across all customer service, but there's one that you can't. It's this one, the client-specific text classification models that each client can use to understand their customer's reason for contact. This is the problem to solve. This is what people want. If you have not analyzed your messages at all, you want to know the answer to this. You want to give them something meaningful to help them route, get it to the right person fast, help them look at trends over time, figure out what your anomalies are. You can find cool stuff, really cool stuff. This is a subscription service. You see the spike at the beginning of each month. Guess why? It's when the bill comes in, right? That's when they're complaining, auto-renewal problems. Now, if you see this and it didn't look like this, if you saw some other thing happening, then that's something where we can alert the company. It's just anomaly detection. That's I shouldn't say solved problem, but that's a very studied research problem that you can quickly get insights to the company. Here's another one. You see order mishap spiking at the third week of the month. It's when they got their delivery and they figured out, oh, an item's missing. Oh, something's damaged. So how do we do it? This is the process. It's a basic machine learning process. Figure out what are your classes, name and define contact drivers, build that data set, create the model, evaluate, deploy. It's never this easy. It doesn't actually go like this. It's a crazy cycle. You're bouncing back and forth. You're looking at confusion matrices. You're figuring out I should merge these classes. I shouldn't merge these classes. Should I split this? Should I split that? It's so much more, but I'm just going to talk about the first two steps. So we use topic modeling. I've been doing topic modeling since I started, 2019. It's an incredible library, BERT topic. It's been around, I'm not sure exactly how long, maybe 3 years. This is the basic process. Take your text. For us, we'll take, say, 20,000 messages, input that text, get a sentence representation. You need to represent it numerically so the machine can sort of process it. You don't have to do dimensionality reduction, but usually it's a good idea, especially if you want to visualize it. Then there's clustering. This is basically our pipeline. Now, this is where generative really helped us. We had a problem in this pipeline. We would get our topics, but we wouldn't know what to name them. We'd have to get humans to do it. It was a really full, it was very time intensive, very human intensive, a lot of manual work. That was a great place to plug in LLMs. Look at this cluster of messages. Here are the keywords. Here are some sample messages. Give me a 3-word description. Give me a definition. You get amazing outputs like this. This is a data map plot. So the only thing going into the model here is just raw messages, just messages. None of these names were created by a human. These were all created by, in this case, I call it Keybird inspired. Keybird and BERT topic are a library by Martin Grutendorst. It's an incredible library. If you're into this stuff, just check it out immediately. And then I added on top just OpenAI, GPT-3.5 through Azure Enterprise. You see incredible names: wire transfer requests, check account balance, update email address, things like that. Quick little demo. We're just going to look at it here. So you have all of your messages, and then you're able to zoom in. Once again, none of these were created by a human. These were generated by the LLMs. You can start to see where the boundaries are, where things are similar, where things should be split. And then what's really nice, you can take these embeddings. You can do a little trick. There's a library for it also, SetFit. You do contrastive learning, where you take positive samples for a class and negative samples for a class. The positive samples go through an optimization function where they get closer in space, and classes that are different get further away in space. And then you want to know something? You can lay logistic regression on top. I said logistic regression. It's 2024. You're not supposed to talk about that anymore. Then the other thing that's really nice about this is a data map plot, interactive. So you can type in certain words and you can see. And the very cool thing here is, So I'm creating that model, right, to classify what these messages are. But let's say there's some transfer, and you want to figure out if you're transferring into a checking account or transferring out of a checking account. You can lay on top certain rules to start figuring out. You can even do dependency parsing. You can do a lot of things that are more manual, and it's okay. That's how you're going to get your best output, by combining the power of sometimes semantic classifiers and laying on top heuristics. Okay, wrapping up. I don't know if you guys have heard this one. All models are wrong, but some are useful. The full quote goes, all models are wrong, but some models are useful. So the question you need to ask is not, is the model true? It never is. But is the model good enough for this particular application? So that means you need to understand your user. You need to understand what matters to them. You need to figure out what types of errors your model's making. There's something that people ask, what's your accuracy? Accuracy doesn't mean a thing. The cost of error is not the same for your different errors. So it's ridiculous, right? We get into these sales calls, people want to know what's your accuracy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't even know, like they don't even know what they're asking about. You need to figure out, for sentiment, are positive messages being labeled positively or negative messages being negatively? If sometimes for those contact drivers, if you're mixing it up with another class where it's the same thing in the hierarchy, when it goes up a level, it doesn't matter. The only thing constant is change. Requirements change, uses of your model change, inputs change, outputs change. You have to incorporate that into your system, the ability to adapt, the ability to modify. Understand your users deeply. Keep revisiting the problem and the underlying need, always, even as machine learning scientists, even if product is telling you something, challenge it. Figure out, is this really true? You're creating a system, not a model. Model's one thing, there's a whole pipeline around it, there's these rules you could lay on top of it. Automation and end-to-end is a great motivation, but know your data, always know your data, visualize your data. Even just thinking about how to visualize your data helps you figure out the problem more. Segmenting your data is a must for two reasons: figuring out where the model's making mistakes, and also basically figuring out like which errors matter and which errors don't. LLMs are great, but they're one solution. They're part of the solution. They're part of the answer. They're not the whole answer for things. If you're creating a classifier, just create a classifier. And takeaways. I hope you guys got a little bit of a better understanding of what Loris does. Combining multiple approaches often yields the best results. And we're creating systems and products to help people, end users, and companies solve problems. Our most valuable asset is time. Make things that matter. Thank you.